time for public comment. So anyone wishing to address the Board of Education will be recognized by the Board President. Speakers are requested to identify themselves and their topic. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Any public participation?
Good evening. First of all, I'm Lap Concord, graduate, 1967, proud graduate. First of all, I want to thank each and every one of you for being a board member. I know the pay is tremendous, but you all are doing a great service. I want to tell you that I've heard a lot of comments of a coach wanting to leave here because there wasn't community support, because the levy didn't pass. I want to give you a little history about the community. The community field house has that name because it was built by the community. The organization, the Riverside Community Athletic Foundation, had to pay $1 for the land so that the legal responsibility on that property was theirs. A $1 million project was built by the community at no cost to the Board of Education, $1 million. Part of the reason I'm telling you this story is because you need to reinforce there's a great history for Riverside, a wonderful positive attitude about the school. You, as leaders of the community, need to get that positive attitude going more and more. I signed, along with 5 of my friends, a $600,000 personal note to make that happen. I'm bragging a little bit, but I'm bragging because I had great friends that said if anybody backed out of that loan, they were in big trouble, they were going to get their butts kicked. I bring this up to tell you that for the first time in my life, I voted no on the levy. Too much for too long at the wrong time. It's not a defeat for you, it's just a setback. Now what I'm going to encourage you to do is, as a team, come together and make something happen in the place of that levy. You can do things that aren't that expensive, that will be very good for the school. All of our goals are the same. We want a great education for our children, and we want great facilities for them to be in. One thing that I have noticed from the board tonight is there's a certain amount of friction. Please eliminate that friction. You're all in it together for one reason, the kids. And I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you, but this is a great positive place, and you still can make great positive things happen even though the levy didn't pass. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Charles Caldwell. I live in Leroy Township, and I want to make a comment before she started cranking that thing up. 2 brief statements. Number 1, I've never been to a board meeting. I have never come here to do anything. I'm ashamed to say that, but I have to say that's the truth. But about 1.5 years ago, I decided I better start looking at things because I didn't like things that I was hearing, and I don't need to believe just rumors and hearsay. The second thing is I echo my good friend's comment. What I did for a living, I did by looking at people, watching their body language and watching their tones of voice and watching how they interacted. And I'm telling you, if you will watch this video tonight, it's not coming to you. And you don't want to look that way. You're all good people. You all are doing something wonderful for the community, but you shouldn't you shouldn't interact the way you're interacting. It sends a bad message to the yahoos like myself that come to a meeting and go, wow, this is what this is always about. All right, now with my 3 minutes here. First of all, I have 51 years in public government and 24 years as an adjunct professor at Lakeland Community College. I have 5 family members that are teachers, so I'm not ignorant to what is going on in the school systems and what happens. More importantly, I understand what it takes to pass levies. In the job that I did, I've worked on many political levies, many levies for different programs. And the important thing is having a public trust, and you can't violate that public trust. It's important. I also believe that government has to be a little more run like a business. We have a product that we sell. You do, we, community. And that product is education. And you sell that product to a consumer, the parents and the students that you educate. And you need to do that and keep in mind in a cost-productive manner. I'm in favor of good schools. I think they're very important, community-wise, nationwide, like roads, parks, police, and fire levies. We're all fighting for the taxpayers' dollars, and there's only so many of them out there. And yours is very important. I also stand for saving this school. I want to make that clear. My brother graduated, I believe, in the second class from out of this school. All my sisters and brothers went here. All my family members, my children, my wife, their mom, everybody has gone here out of our family, and now my grandchildren. So it's a very important thing that this school is there and it be saved. We owe this to the history and to the responsibility.
I'm sorry, that's time.
Can we hear him finish his comments, please?
I
We waited 2 hours while you guys talked. Could you give us
I'm
more
sorry,
than
Mr.
just
Weiss,
3
this
minutes,
is a meeting
please?
of the board, and again, we say 3 minutes. I apologize, but we try to keep it equal for everybody, so I do apologize.
It's fine, it's fine. I understand.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Yes, in the back, I'm sorry.
John Reilly, Painesville Township. I've attended a few of these. I attend meetings all over the country, maybe DC, Columbus, or wherever. And I agree, there's other fellow Riverside graduates, as I am. And I personally think this school isn't what it used to be. Our kids are not getting educated right. When people make a statement, well, this happens in our classrooms, I don't think there's anybody in this room that knows exactly what is said by a teacher or a student in these classrooms. Like the sheriff always says, we can't be everywhere all the time. And we need eyes and ears. And just like now, the sheriff can't get, not just our sheriff, across the country, you can't get law enforcement officers. I just read this article where we can't get members for the 3 armed forces. Nobody wants to sign up to go to our military now. They say it's worse, it's as bad as it was. I think 73, the draft stopped, or what, 70, 73, somewhere in there. It's the lowest there as far as the people who want to join our services. Something's going on. And in my opinion, schools are part of the problem. I mean, we can't blame, they can't say, oh, it doesn't happen, it happens there, but not in my school. No, it's the other schools. Nobody can say that. I can honestly say, do I think there's problems here at Riverside? Yes, sadly I do, and they need to be corrected. And also, OSBA was mentioned. I called them, and I had a lengthy conversation with the Ohio State Board, and I talked to board members there also. And he was telling me about the NSBA. They no longer have a contract with them, and you know what the NSBA did. On 10/25 of 21, they terminated the contract. Now the consortium of state school board associations, they're with them now. And I'm doing more and find out what our board members supposed to be doing as far as classes. Because the OSBA may go to the NSBA at the time, getting help on the curriculum and so forth. Riverside, we used to have a rifle club here. No one ever got shot. We never had deputies walking the hallways and everything else. We never had that when we graduated. Something's going on here. So all I'm asking the 5 of you, like they say, the buck stops here. You're the ones that are elected to this position. You're the bosses. What happens and what doesn't happen in this school is all on you, and I mentioned this at the last meeting. Number one is to educate our children. Like this one psychologist said, if you give me 4 years of a young child's brain, and they said we can teach them whatever we want. Our kids are here to learn, reading, writing, and arithmetic, and sadly, in my opinion, our schools aren't doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Dennis Keeley, Leroy Township. First, I have to say I wholeheartedly agree with Mr. Dunlap and what Mr. Caldwell said. They're absolutely spot on with that. I don't know his name, but I have to agree with everything he said too. Now, with that, I have to say that with the facilities and the renovation of this, and I'm a taxpayer, my taxpayer dollars are important. I'm also a retired landscape architect and a soon-to-be retired commercial real estate appraiser. Understand value, understand design. This building has not reached anywhere near its physical life. Economic life maybe, but that's why every so often you have to go through a building and redo it. And you'll get many, many more years out of it. The right approach, I think, is what they're suggesting. You have to take it piecemeal. Windows are one big thing. You know, heating and air conditioning are another. This building has all kinds of possibilities for a brand new 50 years of life. If you look at it in a comprehensive, step-by-step way and make sure that the right questions are asked along the way. So please, get together, because a new school building will not be done. You're going to trade concrete block walls for concrete block walls. That's all you're going to get. And I'd be 107 years old when that levy retired. And why should I pay that kind of money? For the increase in our taxes takes so much buying power out of the community, you just don't understand it. But it does, and it's important for us to go along the steps it needs to rejuvenate this structure and the other structures. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes.
Amy Zurin, Concord resident. I've got 3 children in the school. Spending, I think the spending needs to be looked on a top-down approach. So when I hear that the community sent a very strong message, basically 3-to-1, in favor of building, not buying new buildings. I agree with somebody, I think it was just yourself, that said there's no community support. Or the community trust isn't there. I think I heard community trust. When I hear of spending $3,100 to put a manual together for this board, I say no. Pull the policies together yourself, put a staple of them, and pass them out. That's how simple it is. The Ohio State School Board Association has that manual. Duties of a board member, you can get it for free. But I will tell you, they've already paid a membership to the Ohio State School Board Association. So this is another $3,100 on top of it. The second is new buildings versus repairs. Every year, I get you. You need to maintain your house. You need to maintain every building. This building didn't get maintained. Some of the buildings didn't get maintained as good as they should have. So the community said, should we give you a brand new building that you're not going to maintain and let's see what you're going to do with it? No, the community sent a message, 3-to-1. And it's hard because I lived in a former community that built the new schools. And I understand the plus, they look good, and I understand the minus is the taxes are so high, they're a burden for the community. The third, I've come to speak to this again, and I'm going to stress it because I've heard it 2 times here. There's division on this board, and if you watch this video, you're not going to be happy with yourself. What I've seen is cutting board members off. What I saw is eye-rolling, nonverbal comments, sighs, and one board member said under their mouth, please. It's just not how you want to present to the community. It's not. The fourth is parents need to know what the work sessions are. I'm a parent of 3 in the district. I work 2 jobs. My husband works 2 jobs. So announce what dates the work sessions are and what the topic is. And put that on a blast to the community if you want the community to hear. And I will tell you, social and emotional learning and CRT is an important topic for the parents. Involve them, and there's money coming down the pipe to teach it. So, and special stakeholders will want it to be taught, but the parents might not.
Thank you. Any other? Yes, sir.
I'm Bob Zanes. I'm a 40-plus year resident of Concord Township inside the Riverside school system. I came here to listen tonight, and I heard a lot of things. But I also came here to congratulate this official for becoming elected to the board. In my opinion, he's bringing a breath of fresh air to this board, long needed, in my opinion. Secondly, his opposition to CRT, critical race theory. His opposition to that, I applaud. I'm adamantly opposed to CRT and any iterations involved with CRT. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Yes, sir.
I wanted to, first of all, thank Mr. Kalos and Mr. Arlesic for their tours that they gave. In the past month and a half, Mr. Fischel and I have spent over 50 hours. We've gone through every classroom in Riverside, as well as all the common areas in Riverside, and we intend to do that in John R. Williams as well. Done a lot of documentation, discovered many, many things. One thing I'd like to say, in the few contacts I've had with Mr. Arlesic, I cannot be more impressed with the depth of his knowledge, not only about this building, having only been here about a year and a half, but also his experience throughout his career in building maintenance. And I would very strongly suggest that the board take heed of anything that he suggests to you, and particularly anything he tells you not to do, okay? That being said, I also recognize that Mr. Arlesic is extremely busy with the limited staff that he does have running this entire district, and I agree with Mr. Fischel and Mr. Hack that an owner's representative is necessary to help to try to define the scope of what needs to be done to improve Riverside and prolong its usefulness, as well as other buildings, okay? And like Mr. Dunlap and Mr. Caldwell and Mr. Keeley, I am for saving this school and continuing to improve it, okay? I want to move on to the social emotional learning, okay? As a parent, I send my children here for 3 reasons. Number 1, to learn academics, to support entry into university level education and a technical degree program. Number 2, to participate in team sports and develop their physical and team building abilities so they can become better citizens. And then finally, to socialize with their peers, because I think it's very important for young people to be together, learn how to become adults together, okay? I do not support social emotional learning, critical race theory, or any boiled down derivative thereof, okay? Yes, I do agree with Mrs. Malagra, every child should be lifted up. No child should be bullied. All children should feel safe and in a productive learning environment. But that's not what social emotional learning is about. Social emotional learning is forever tainted with the fingerprint of critical race theory. It was designed by very much leftist people, Marxist people, who want to change our culture and want to undermine the Judeo-Christian value system and the constitutional support that a good society has for its community and for the United States of America. Okay? I absolutely am completely against social emotional learning, and I implore the board to remove that from the curriculum at the earliest possible time. Again, it's divisive, it's tainted, it distorts and denies the truth. So it has to go. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Yeah, if I could. Doug Laconis. I live in Concord Township, had 3 kids that go to school here. First off, I want to say, and I mean this sincerely, I want to say thank you to the board, because you got, all 5 of you are up there, and you have a really, really, really hard job. And we're all looking down on you, and obviously, the community can watch on the video, and they're going to, a lot of them watch after the fact, so you have a hard job. So I appreciate what you're doing. The one thing in regard to the facilities I just want to mention, and I'll just put it out there, I'll say it out loud. I voted for the levy, and my wife voted for the levy. But if I'm being honest, I 100% knew it wasn't going to pass. Because people like this gentleman who had voted for every levy, and I talked to people out in the community that said, I voted for every levy in the past, but I'm not going to vote for this one. So now that we're past that, and CUNY, is said decisively we're not going to build a new building, at least right now. And quite honestly, it's not a good time to build for a lot of different reasons. Building materials have doubled in the last 12 months, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, let's just make sure we're working together. There does seem to be a lot of divisiveness. You know, we want to try and just get past that because we're working together for the kids, right? So, second thing I just want to say really quick, and this is a quick story, I'm going to have to say it fast, but is you know, 17 years ago, a client of mine, a very successful businessman that happened to be from the Middle East, said to me, he said, Doug, you know, I've been here in the United States now for about 20 years. He said, you know what shocked me? He says, how absolutely, positively naive and uninformed and unawake the people of the United States are to the actual realities of the world. And he said, let me ask you 3 questions, Doug. Because I, of course, said, I'm aware of the actual realities of the world. What are you talking about? He asked me 3 questions. I gave the answers right away because I knew the answers, right? And he said, Doug, you made my point. You just answered 3 questions. All 3 answers you gave are 100% wrong. So he started me on a path 17 years ago to actually find out what the actual realities of the world are. And they're not what, I mean, and certain people on this board say certain things that shock people. And they scare people. And they make them think, oh, well, that's just crazy talk. But in reality, when you know, you know. When you know the actual realities of the world, things that might sound crazy to certain people, actually aren't. And so what I would say is that there are certain people on this board that are awake to the realities of the world, and there are certain people on this board that are not. So I would just ask that, you know, for instance, Tom, you looked at something and you voted for it, and then now when you're actually awake to the realities of the world, you would change your mind. That's what I would ask everybody on the board, to look at things with an open mind and use some critical thinking.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Great. That brings us to